Good afternoon. How's everyone?
Fine.
I think my bio maybe got a little lost. There was a little more to that. As you mentioned, my name is Kevin Parker. I'm basically in charge of business banking for the DC region. I've been with TD Bank for about a year now. Previous to then, I was with SunTrust Bank for a few years and Chevy Chase Bank, which is now Capital One Bank, for about 10 years. So in whole, I've been in banking for about 15, 17 years. Predominantly has been in lending. The last 7 to 8 has been in small business lending. I actually have a bit of a history in between that as well, in which I was not working for about 3 years, in which I actually started my own business. So I have a little interesting story to that because I sympathize and I empathize with business owners as well, and there's a reason why I'm working back now as well. But as we all know, not all businesses succeed, and sometimes it takes some failure to basically go on and be successful. Personally, I'm actually a Washingtonian, third generation Washingtonian, which I'm pretty proud of that. We don't, not too many of us around, but there are a few of us who actually were born here, Washington Hospital Center, and go to school here, and went away for a few years to college and ended up coming back. So I'm passionate about DC businesses specifically, Maryland, Virginia as well. Definitely does make a difference. Thank you, Christina, for inviting TD Bank. I'm not sure if a lot of you guys are very familiar with TD Bank. TD Bank is new to this area. Probably the most common thing I hear when I mention TD Bank, and someone can probably say it for me. What do you guys probably think of when you hear TD Bank? Regis and Kelly, right? Or I think it's Kelly first for the guys, and then Regis, what I often hear. But TD Bank, just to give you a bit of background, this is considered an emerging market to us. We're fairly new to DC. We only have about 40 branches. We're looking to grow over the years organically to about 150 ideally in the next 5 to 7 years. TD Bank, which actually stands for Toronto Dominion. It's a bank that was established over 100 years ago in Canada. And about 8, 9 years ago, they came into the North American market, U.S. market specifically, in the New England area. And since then, there were opportunities to grow and also to grow organically while also purchasing banks. The feds came to us and wanted us to step in and also purchase some banks that were failing, basically all the way down to Florida. So 7 years ago, we were only in New England. As of today, we go from New England all the way down to Florida, and basically every state in between. And we are looking to grow. DC specifically, as I mentioned, is an emerging market for us, which is a good thing for us here because we're being very aggressive, very proactive, especially with small businesses. We're probably able to make a little bit more aggressive or riskier decisions than other markets might be able to, because we know typically the biggest thing we probably hear is, you approve my loan, I'll bring you my business. And I'm sure Art is probably very familiar with that saying as well. We would love to say yes a lot more than we say no, but as Art mentioned, it's a lot to it. Which is what some I want to talk to today basically is how to get money, access to capital. It's one of probably the hardest things for owners to do and to learn to realize. I think some of the more important things is financial literacy, which is huge. Basically, understanding how to talk about your business from a banker's perspective. It's two sides of being a business owner. It's the business management side, and being able to talk about your balance sheet possibly, your cash flow possibly, your short-term plans, long-term plans, being able to identify cash flow issues, strengths, weaknesses, mitigating factors of the business. And then the other side of the business is being a manager of the product and service that you sell. So it's two hats, especially for smaller businesses. But very often when we see businesses who are very proficient in the product or the service that they can offer, but there may be some lacking sides on the business management end, and vice versa. There may be a fantastic business manager, and the product and service might not be something that we feel is going to be that successful. I think banks have kind of maybe changed the way they look at some deals in today's world. One of the words we love to hear when we talk to owners is growth. We love to fund growth. Love to fund growth. If a client comes to us and whatever the purpose may be, if the purpose to create more revenues or possibly decrease some expenses, which will also kind of boost your net income, we love that idea. And we want to look to grow and partner with businesses. So we look at it, in a lot of cases, almost like an investor. And they look at it loan. How can we partner with this company? Banks look at it as the more successful the small business is going to be, it's going to help us. Small business is a huge area of focus, probably for every bank right now. because with small business, you get a lot that comes with it. You get typically the ownership from the business standpoint, but also on the personal side. It's a personal relationship. If they do it with your business, they're probably going to bring over personal depository relationships, additional lending needs. Once again, as the small business grows, once you grow from $500,000, let's say for example, to $2, $4, $5 million, there are different additional services that you're going to need. You might have to increase your line of credit, or you might want a loan to buy commercial property or commercial warehouse. There are going to be some cash management concerns or needs that you might have in terms of we have all this money coming in. I need to find an effective way to basically bring that money in at the least cost effective as possible. So it's a lot that goes into it. Preparation is very important when talking to your business banker. But before you even talk to your business banker, I think that relationship with the banker is huge. In today's world, that's one of your partners. Whether it's going to be your accountant or your lawyer, that banker probably needs to kind of be on that list of one of the people I need to maintain a good relationship with. The important thing is, when I tell my clients this, is you want to have that banker basically have some emotions in the decision. My job, and probably Art's job, in trying to talk to our underwriters and making a decision is, how can we get my underwriter to feel that emotion? When I talk to you, how can I be sold on the idea? So when I talk to my underwriter, I can kind of talk to them with that same passion and the same understanding and the same vision that you have. And it's not only subjective, but there is a financial side of it. Financially, does it make sense? Does it pass cash flow? How does the industry look? What industry is it in? How has the industry been done over the last 3 to 5 years, over the last 10 years? What are the plans? What are succession plans? Things of that sort. TD Bank specifically, we're definitely committed to doing business in the minority sector, for women-owned businesses as well. We've done that a few different ways, in hiring someone myself who is minority to basically charged with growing the business, small business sector within Washington, D.C. specifically. Also, we hired Donna Grigsby, who some of you guys might have heard her name. She used to be the executive director for WACF, which is a micro lender in the region. She has great relationships, and she's charged with specifically looking for women-owned businesses, minority businesses as well. Also put in some of our branches and stores and maybe various demographic areas. So it definitely is very important to us. One thing I do want to kind of dive into a little more is about the underwriting. I know today we're here to talk about access to capital, so I want to kind of dive into the nuts and bolts of that a little bit. We talked about cash flow or capacity, which is basically the affordability of the loan. Can you afford the loan on paper, basically? And it's very simple. I'll give you a real simple calculation. The way we look at it basically is we're going to take all your income. And we're going to look at the net income of the business. We're going to look at the income from you personally. And we're basically going to divide it by your expenses, your personal expenses, your business expenses. And it gives us a ratio. Most banks will use a 1.2, 1.3 ratio. The SBA typically will go down to 1.1, 1.0. There's a little touch of flexibility there, depending on if you can sell the deal. But most banks are going to look between that 1 to 1.3 range in terms of cash flow. Anything over 1.3 is excellent. And what that basically says in layman's terms basically is for every $1 in expenses that you have, we're going to want to see that you have at least $1.20 in revenue, which is pretty simple. Now keep in mind that we're looking at net. So when I say revenue, I really should say net income. Okay, we do want to factor in expenses, etc. We're going to look at credit, personal credit, business credit. There are a few different reports we can pull on the business side. On the personal side, we're going to pull a credit report. Most banks will either use one of the 3 credit agencies. We'll pull all 3 credit agencies and see what your score is and look at the history of the credit itself. Most banks will not turn you down because of the score itself. We'll use it as an indicator, but we're really looking at the history of your credit. Credit cards, mortgages, car loans, the balances, are any credit cards maxed out, things of that sort. how many cars are possible in the credit report compared to how many owners of the business, homes, etc., things of that sort. We're going to look at in terms of credit. Collateral. Things have changed from 3 or 4 years ago. I remember a few years back when I was with SunTrust, I would say more than 3 years ago, we were doing up to 100,000 all day. Small business loans, stated income, stated application. So basically, whatever you put on the application, we would accept that as, okay, that's your income. We would pull credit, that's it. So it was unsecured. Probably a lot of banks were doing a lot of that. A lot of them have kind of paid for it. TD has probably a bit more conservative, just probably in the whole Canadian nation. They weren't that aggressive in doing unsecured loans. In today's world, probably most banks do want to see a bit of collateral. A lot of that depends on the loan size. Typically, when you do loans under $50,000, you can get away with unsecured deals, unsecured loans. From 50 to 100, we probably want to see some type of collateral involved. Definitely over 100,000, typically get into, we want to use some types of collateral. And as Art mentioned, there is, the most common form of collateral is typically residential. There's been a downfall in that, so it's been making it a bit tough in that area. As I mentioned, we're going to look at the industry. We're also going to look at personal net worth in terms of what type of personal assets you might have. Retirement accounts, brokerage accounts, any other assets or investments you may have. Compared to any expenses or liabilities you may have. And also we're going to look at the background in terms of whatever business that you're in, do you have experience in that field? I know SBA specifically, they typically definitely want to see you have experience in that field. So if you're starting a car wash, for example, did you work at a car wash in the past, or have you managed a car wash? Things of that sort. And in closing, really just want to kind of sum up. One, you definitely want to understand what the bank is looking for. So from a business owner perspective, you want to kind of think, what is that bank looking for? And go in and talk. You don't have to go in and apply right away, but go in and talk to a few different banks and say, hey, what are you guys looking for? What's important? Here's a copy of my business plan. Can you give me an opinion on it? I all the time give free opinions on business plans and what I think and things they might need to add in terms of more projections or things of that sort. And number two, know your business. Definitely know your business in terms of being able to have a conversation when we do ask questions, when we do dive into it, being able to give us practical answers. Sometimes not the answer we want to hear, but it's important that we do know all the facts so we can kind of, as I like to say, kind of create that vase. We have to kind of mold it so when it gets to an underwriter, it's a pretty vase. It looks like something we want to do, something that's attractive to us. So thank you for inviting me today, Christina. And as we mentioned, I'd be more than welcome to kind of answer more questions and hear any comments later. Thank you.